Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Lil Herb album. Welcome to Fazoland. Thank you, Cal.
No problem.
What the hell is on your head?
Nothing. Definitely not the same haircut or nothing on my head that you got. Nope.
Why do you gotta do this to me?
Just sometimes I want to be like you, insecure.
This is not happening. This is not happening. You are not doing this to me. Whew. Well, there you go. We're back, baby. Lil Herb is a Chicago rapper. And this is his breakout project, Welcome to Fazoland. He has dropped previous mixtapes in the past, but this is easily the biggest of everything he has done thus far in terms of buzz. And the momentum for this project continues considering that he just dropped a fresh new single with Nicki Minaj. Now, Herb is a part of this current strain of trap rappers coming out of the Midwest right now, specifically Chicago. A lot of people calling this stuff drill. Do not go into this mixtape expecting a progressive eccentric like Chance the Rapper or to a lesser extent Vic Mensa. Herb sits on that more grim, dangerous, violent side of the Chicago rap scene right now with guys like Chief Keef or Lil Reese, who is actually featured on this tape. And on this tape, Herb teams up with other prominent locals making noise in Chicago right now too, like Lil Durk and King Louie. Now, typically this stuff is super duper aggressive. It's loud, which I like, but it really fails to connect with me on a lyrical level, especially with guys like Chief Keef. Though I may love a lot of the hooks, I may think it's catchy, I love the production, I just find a guy like him obnoxious to listen to for long periods of time. I get that his message comes from a real place, I can only assume, but without the skill level to frame this reality of his in an interesting and captivating way, I just fail to see what's going to be interesting about him for the long term. That's why continually the real star of all of this drill music out of Chicago right now, in my opinion, has been Young Chop. I think he's got loads of talent, I think he has a good head on his shoulders, and I think his production exemplifies everything that is new, exciting, and explosive about this brave new world of trap music. But Lil Herb, though, he is the first voice to come out of this wave that has actually grabbed me on a lyrical level. And not that his words shed light on anything that we couldn't already guess, given that he is from a place whose reputation is overshadowed by its murder rate. The drugs, the gangs, the violence, they're all here on this project, but Herb puts a coherent, vivid, and lyrical face on this story. In a lot of respects, he's just as savage as his peers, like on tracks such as On My Soul, which the hook on this song sounds just like something that could come out of a Chief Keef track. But the lyrical imagery going into these tracks is just a lot more grimy, and his flow, his delivery is way more forceful and convincing. And even though he doesn't have the most distinct voice, I think he's showing a very nice level of skill for someone who is his age and with this amount of content under his belt. He's very comfortable with a more speedy flow, like on the back end of the song Love to Stunt, or the slower, more spaced out, very pronounced deliveries that we hear over a lot of these trap beats currently. And instrumentally, he's pretty diverse as well. He is as comfortable over these trap instrumentals as he is some soul sampling boom bap. And topically and emotionally, I feel that he's really good at playing both sides of the fence too, from hardened young criminal who's sort of locked into this hellhole and doesn't see any way out other than to kind of give in to the ebb and flow of the bad things happening around him. But at times he's also repentant for the things that he does. He's a critical observer of the world around him as well. And yeah, maybe I am overthinking this whole thing to an extent. Some would say that I am bringing an outsider perspective to the table, given that I did not grow up on the south side of Chicago. But here's a newsflash. I am an outsider to every record I listen to. I am not in the artist's head. And what is art if not something that allows us to understand the perspective and the emotions of the person who created it? So anyway, Herb does have lyrics. He has flow. However, that wasn't really hitting me on the first few tracks here. I thought that he sounded just a little amateurish on the song At the Light, even though I thought the hook was solid and a lot of the lyrics were there. Then again, there was the song Coolin' right after, where I thought the chorus on this track was kind of awkward, really out of shape, and I wasn't really impressed by the lyrics on this track either. They just didn't strike me as special, especially with the mention of swag and with the True Religion jeans, which is one of the most baffling fashion trends I think that has come out as of late. True Religion, I think right now makes one of the ugliest pairs of jeans I've ever seen in my life. And I remember when I was a kid when South Pole jeans were popular. Herb doesn't actually grab me on this tape until the track Fight or Flight, which is a huge change in direction on this thing instrumentally and thematically. He raps about how all he cares about is himself and his family because nobody else does. He's fighting to survive. He's not from Beverly Hills, so he has no lies to tell, really. And then there's the song 4 Minutes of Hell Part 3, which is this grimy trap rap song. He goes back into that direction, but the lyrics just seem so much grittier on this song. He really encapsulates himself into this lyrical hell where he just kind of feels like he can't escape. And I love the epic female vocal samples hanging in the background, the big clanging bells. But even though he lashes out against his setting on a lot of tracks here, simultaneously he sees it as all he has right now. Just like on the closing track here, he sees himself as being indebted to this place as much as he suffers for it. There's the song On the Corner, which oddly enough, you might find this surprising with its distorted auto-tuned hook, I think is one of the best tracks on this entire LP. Killer chorus on this thing. I love the repetitious On the Corner refrain. It's earworms like this that really make this song sweet and repeatable. And topically, it is a song of warning to stay off that corner because you know what the hell happens there. There are some tracks in the middle of this project that I don't dig too much, like Designer, where things just get a little too shallow, and sonically this just sounds a little bit too much like a Migos track or something. And there are moments where the relative gap in talent between Herb and his contemporaries out of Chicago right now is very obvious. Like when King Louie hops on the mic on one track here, he is just not as charismatic and as convincing or as lyrical as Herb. And the same goes for Lil Reese, but he is actually able to come through with some clever, hilarious, and very bold and biting lines that makes up for these gaps, like how he tells older rappers to just quit completely and make way for the younger guys, how he says that if you're making money, you should be feeding everyone on the block, and he asks how one rapper is hot when his album just flopped. For me, this project is really at its strongest in the first half. It finishes up relatively well. There are tracks in the second half like Still Fucked Up, which brings another boom bap beat to the table that sounds really great. Lyrically, Herb dives a little bit into his past. He gets nostalgic on this track and starts talking about his come up in the rap game a bit. I love the drive and the passion and the aggression he shows on the song Love to Stunt, and I think the chorus is one of the catchiest on this entire LP too. But on the flip side, the song Ain't For None is maybe one of the most obnoxious tracks on this entire LP, with just such a lopsided beat. And the mixing on this song is just so weird too. The hi-hats are completely out of whack. And even though I know those earworms are really important, those repetitive lyrical earworms are important to this style of music, they just get a little redundant on this song, and a few others on here too. You know, overall I did like this thing a lot. I still think Herb is very young. He's still finding his voice, but he has a great foundation to build on with this project. I think he's showing a lot of talent, and I think these are some of the better songs I've heard off of any trap mixtape this year. And right now, anyway, Herb is definitely the most coherent, convincing, and lyrical MC to come out of this new, aggressive strain of rappers from Chicago. I'm feeling a decent to strong 7 on this thing. Transition. If you've given Fazoland a listen, what did you think of it? Love it? Hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that is it. Anthony Fantano, Lil Herb, forever.